Hey barbecue lovers, this is Wes Fryer here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is July the 10th, 2023, and I have not done a pulled pork or pork butt smoking video for a while, and I'm trying to change my techniques and really love the results that I'm getting, and so I thought I would go ahead today because I'm not doing an overnight cook like I normally do. I can draft my wife to help record this and make a little video. So what I'm going to do is go over the kind of equipment and stuff like that I have. I've got the pork butt in the freezer, and I'll talk about why it's there in a minute, but I'm going to just prep it and do the whole prep, and then we're going to go ahead and put it out there. So cooking a pork butt, number one, is one of the most affordable values for barbecue. This particular pork butt is about 8 pounds or so, a little over 8, maybe 8.5, and it's $2.50 a pound. That's really a bit on the pricey side. That's the high end. Costco usually has their pork butts, I think, for like $2 a pound, and I've seen our local grocery store where I actually got this one, which is called Harris Teeter, for 99 cents a pound. And when pork butts are that cheap, you know, if you can, it's great to buy them, put them in the freezer, you know, because then you can just, you know, cook them later, but that's a great value. So my favorite is definitely Texas style brisket. I love chicken. I like ribs, but pork is excellent, and pulled pork is great, but I don't like vinegar-based pork, and that's what we really have a lot of here in the Carolinas. I like to do a sweet pork, and so that's what I'm going to do here. So let me talk a little bit about supplies. First of all, I use this cookie rack and this old cookie sheet because when I am going to have my meat of whatever kind, seasoning and set up, I don't want it to just be on the pan. I want it to be above the pan. So like this is a super important part of just about all of my cooks whenever I'm doing a rub or something like that. Your knife is really important too. This isn't a $100 knife. This is like a $20, I think it's like a Victorinox, I don't know if I'm saying that right, knife that my daughter got for me for like my birthday, but it is a bony knife, and so it's really good for trimming, and trimming is essential. I also like to be able to sharpen my knife, and I do that right before I trim, and so this is just like an inexpensive, like less than $10 sharpener. It's got like 3 different stones that I got from Amazon. Super important, of course, is your thermometer. Now, I've got a $100 meter thermometer, but I've been having trouble with this thing. This is wonderful when it works, and I've had this working before, but I'm having some trouble with it right now. This is wireless and Bluetooth, and you know, connect it, and you can see on your phone how much longer it needs to cook. But honestly, this $12 ThermoPro, this is the second one that I've had, absolutely fantastic. I probably should keep another one because if it breaks, which my first one did, this is the number one most important thing for barbecue, is having an instant read thermometer. And you can spend a lot more money, but I've had really good luck with this one, and it's not that big of a deal to get another one. In terms of the rub, what I'm going to do is a half and half mix of just yellow mustard, which is my usually go-to binder for brisket, but then I just use molasses, and I do this half and half. This really gives the pork butt a good color and also a good flavor. And then in terms of what I'm going to actually rub on it, I picked this up at Costco. I do a lot of stuff at Costco. This is Bad Byron's butt rub, and we're going to go ahead and put that all over it. When I do the wrap, because cooking a pork butt with this method is really a lot like a brisket. We're going to have it on the smoke for about 6 hours. We're going to wait until the internal temperature is 165 degrees. We're going to put it on at 225 degrees, and then we're going to wrap it. And sometimes I'll go ahead and wrap it and put it on the smoker, but that burns pellets. And so one of the things that I'm fond of doing now, if I had a foil pan, I'll sometimes do that, or just use a 9x11 Pyrex. I'll put it in here. I'm going to put some brown sugar, and then I'm going to put barbecue sauce, and I'm just going to use Sweet Baby Ray's honey barbecue sauce. and then I've got to wrap it tightly with foil. Okay, so that's all of the equipment. Now I'm gonna go grab the pork butt out of the freezer, and we're going to get this thing trimmed. All right, so the reason I have this in the freezer is because the colder it is, the easier it's going to be to go ahead and trim it. One of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're trimming meat of any kind, and our golden retriever is going to jump up here because he's going to start realizing that something's going on with meat, is you want to be careful not to just get it in the sink and to get, you know, the bacteria and whatever else is going to be with the uncooked meat somewhere on your kitchen surface. So, you know, just be careful with that. That goes not only for pork and chicken, but for beef as well. Sometimes, if it's going to be pretty bloody, I will have a paper towel ready, and I'll, you know, kind of dab it with that. But I'm usually pretty careful and throw this away. With a brisket, I'm trying to leave a fat cap on of about a ½ inch. But with a pork butt, I really, Moose, honey, it's okay. I really don't want to do that. This is bone in, so when we're done with this and we pull the pork, this bone is going to just pull right out. It's going to literally fall right off of the bone. But there's a lot of intermuscular fat in here, and there's really not any advantage to keeping the fat. Like when you're doing a brisket, it's good to keep that, you know, about a ½ inch of fat on the fatty side, and that helps protect the brisket during the rub or during the cook. But it also, what you want to have happen with fat whenever you're cooking with barbecue is you want it to fully render, and that means that it's going to basically liquefy, and it's not gonna taste like a big piece of fat. It's gonna liquefy, and that good fat or lard is gonna go right into the meat. So what I'm taking out here, you know, this is solid fat, and again, I'm trimming this differently than I would trim a brisket, because I don't necessarily want to leave any of this on. I really think that trimming is one of the most important parts of getting good results with barbecue. I mean, I hopefully am going to be able to get a stick burning barbecue trailer, because I'm interested in, you know, maybe doing some catering and doing some, you know, very small scale commercial barbecue, and that's different. But at this point, I've been cooking on my pellet smoker, which is really, you know, it spoils you because it keeps that temperature at exactly whatever you set. I usually cook at 225 degrees. You know, constant temperature and clean smoke, that is an essential thing as well. But in addition to that, that's stuff that the pellet smoker takes care of by itself. One of the things that I think probably varies a lot with results, I guess I didn't put my little apron on today, is the trim. So anyway, trimming is super important. Is mix up my binder. So the reason that you use a binder is so that your rub adheres better to your meat. I'm not going to measure this exactly. I don't know. I think I'm going to probably have about a cup, but I want to do about half and half. It's not a big deal if I mismeasure. It's easy to get more. So I'm just going to stir this up. So 50% yellow mustard, 50% molasses, that's it. Okay, we're going to do this on both sides. I'm also out of gloves. I like to be able to usually use a glove when I do this. So what I'm going to do is just use my left hand to basically get the binder on here, and then I'll season with my right. So Just trying to get a nice coating all over. And I will let this set up before we put it on the smoke, probably for about 30 minutes. I don't think you would necessarily have to do that, but generally it's a good idea, if you can, to let your rubs set up a little bit before you put them straight onto the smoke. So that's going to affect our timing here. Sometimes if you've had your rub for a little while, it's going to solidify a little bit, and you're going to have to get in there and stir it up. Okay, so got that covered up pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. And again, I really like to do this on the grate, on the metal, cookie sheet, because it just elevates it, and it's going to allow the air to interact with the rub and the meat. Whereas if I didn't have it like that, it would just be straight on the pan, and I don't think the rub would be able to be soaked in as much. All right, so nice coating. We wouldn't, I don't know, this is about as thick, I guess, as I would go with salt and pepper, but sometimes with a brisket, I'll go even heavier. Pretty good coat on the whole thing. Get this side too. Sometimes instead of using like this Bad Byron's butt rub, again, I will just treat this like a brisket. And so I can do like an SPG, a salt, pepper, garlic rub, which is really good. This does have salt in it, so what does this say that it has in it? Salt, pepper, black pepper, granulated onion, garlic, paprika, chipotle powder, smoked jalapeno, and then some things are difficult to say that basically keep it from sticking together. The salt is the main thing that's going to, soak into the meat, and that's why, you can even let this set up overnight if you want to. Anyway, this guy is ready for the smoker, and I'm gonna set a timer, let that go for 30 minutes, and make sure the dogs don't get it, and then I'll put it on the smoke, and we're gonna check in probably about 6 hours after that to see the results, and we'll get it wrapped. All right, here we are. We've been setting up for 30 minutes. We could set up longer, but it'll be fine. So I have this at 225 degrees, and this is a weird timing. I've never really, started a pork butt at this time. We're traveling, and I'm gonna be bringing this as a food offering to our friends that we're gonna stay with. And so anyway, it is what it is. Normally, when I cook a brisket or a pork butt like this, I'm gonna start it the night before, like at 11 o'clock or midnight. And then I'm going to be able to usually take it off, 6 hours later at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. So this is going to be a little bit different. It's about 1:30. So I'm going to be checking this thing about, 7 o'clock, 7:30 tonight. But then I'm going to be moving it into the oven. One of the things I forgot to say when I wrap is, in addition to brown sugar and barbecue sauce, I'll put butter on it. So that there's different quotes that people have had about barbecue. I think I've said this one before in a video, like Matt with Meat Church says his job isn't to, help people lose weight. But honestly, barbecue is good protein. It's not carbs. So I love that, because our, kind of diet and lifestyle that we have now is a very low carb diet. Resting your meat is so important. You do not want to serve any kind of meat, a steak, especially like brisket, pork butt, anything like that. You don't want to serve it right away. By letting it rest, it really allows the juices and it allows the chemistry to work as it needs to And so that's essential. So anyway, that's another benefit of doing it in the oven is I'm just going to be able to set the timer, I think, leave it, let it rest in there. And then in the morning, when I get up at more like normal time, we'll go ahead and crack that baby open. We'll pull it, and it should be awesome. So, ready for the smoke. Here comes the butt. Just gonna lay that baby right there in the middle. Okay. Ready to go. Woohoo! 6 hours. Let the RecTeq do its thing. Okay, it's July 11th. It's the day after, and what I did not shoot video of was getting up at 2 in the morning and turning off the stove. So after 7 hours on the smoke outside, I put the pulled pork here in the oven, also at 225, and ended up, I guess what, that would be 12 and a half hour total. So it's been resting here in the oven. Normally when I rest, I will, you know, rest in a cooler, but I think the oven is fine, and it's so important to rest your meat of whatever kind, you know, you're cooking or smoking. All right, so come on in. Let's get close. Do the unveiling. Look at that. So there it is in all its glory. So whenever you have smoked a pork butt like this is exactly what happens to the bone. It just falls off. Look at that. And that is all good pork goodness. So, as I have in my last couple videos, I keep saying I'm gonna get some more gloves. I'm glad to have these kitchen gloves, but these are not my optimal gloves. They're just kind of my go-to gloves when I have nothing else. So, look at that. That is called pulled pork perfection. I think it is. Oops. That might be a dog bite. Oh, we could do a dog bite here in a minute. All right, so this is what 9 pounds of pulled pork cooked for. Isn't that fancy?
I know,
a little over 12 hours. Does, or looks like. Okay, so here we'll have my bite, and then we'll have dog bites, and then we're done. That's good. If I'd wrapped it in a towel, put it in a cooler, and not rested it quite as long, it would be even warmer, but it's still warm. All right, here's a piece that fell out. Who would like this? Moose, would you like a bite? Moose says, yes, I would. Rosie? There you go. And we're done.
And they're licking their lips.